All right, guys. So we're back tonight with our new live for the 21st of February, 2023. And tonight we got the inventor of the Ant, and we're going to talk to him about it and all things to do with it. And it's the apparatus for navigating tarps. I use it, and you guys have heard extensively on here how I use it and what I use it for. I love that product. It's a really good one. And I like the fact that it's also created by a veteran like myself. So, guys, we're going to bring in Aaron Fair, and I hope I pronounced his last name right, but here he is. Hello, Aaron.
I've heard so many variations of my last name that there really is no right anymore. I say Carr, but Fair, Ferrari. I've heard everything.
So it's Far.
Yeah.
Okay. Far. Okay, I'll remember that then.
Cool. I'll never be offended if you get it wrong.
Okay. I got a friend who his last name is Vial, right? Well, if you look at it, it's Vial, V-I-A-L, but he pronounces it Vale. And even to this day, 2 years almost of knowing this guy, I'll slip up and say, "Hey, Vial," and I know it's Vale. You know what I mean? It just kind of, it's just, I see it before I say it, you know, how it's spelled, even though I'm not looking at it, and I'll still call him that.
But this is probably just a nickname at this point.
Probably, right. So, but yeah, so you're an entrepreneur. You invented the A.N.T, the apparatus for navigating tarps, and you got your shirt on there, your practical products. So, you know, let's kind of talk about, you know, the steps before the Ant, you know, what, you know, the dream and the vision that you had, and then how did this all come about?
Well, good question. There's definitely an answer. So I had the idea for the Ant working for my dad's lawn service up in northern Indiana, where I grew up. And it came one day, we were at a cemetery, I think. And I'm pretty sure it was like just getting to be like the onset of winter. So getting dark at like 6, sleeting on us. And my dad used to always say to me, "You're pulling the tarps. You got to use your young body. I can't do it as much." So we'd load these tarps up, huge commercial tarps, like 10 by 12 feet, full of leaves that are getting wet. So they're getting heavier with each like load back and forth. Had a ravine at the back of the property where we could go take the tarp, turn it over, and then do it again. And that's where I had the idea. I'm like, I need a little break, and I'm thinking there's got to be a better way. And I fiddled around in the truck and found some bootlaces, tied them together, tied them to the tarp, and I'm like, okay, this works. I've got like leverage now. This is great. So over the years, we started, like, we thought we might be onto something. Like, this might be something that other people might appreciate too, if it could make their lives easier, it could make work faster, anything like that. So we went about prototyping different iterations of the product with parts that we got on the shelf. In most cases, I think it was like trips to Menards, that I was like going to Menards on a Saturday for like, I don't know, to like mess around with some woodworking, pick up some new stuff that looks like it would work for what at the time was called the tarp tool. And eventually found that the bootlaces would kind of cut into you. So we added some patent, and the carabiner started out being aluminum, and we thought bigger is better, and learned the hard way that that's not the case, because we were pulling something super heavy and the aluminum carabiners bent out of shape to where they wouldn't close anymore.
Right.
And that made it so it wasn't secure. So you couldn't reliably pull on it and know that it wasn't going to give out on you. So over the years came up with what we felt like was a pretty good version of what could be a product. And then while I was in school, my dad and I talked and just thought maybe we should think about a patent, because this is an idea. You know, people do variations of this with ratchet straps and ropes and things, but we could still make, you know, our version of the product, just to be acknowledged as inventors would be like a cool thing just to like have in life. And so we started the process. My dad financed it, and I think it took 3 years said and done to get 2 patents. I'm going to get this wrong. I always do, but I think there's like a utility and a design patent, or a method and a utility patent, something to that effect. So those were awarded, 1 2 years in, 1 3 years in. And then when I got out of school, it was the same time that I separated from the Indiana Army National Guard. And I didn't really know what I was going to do next. My degree is in public safety, but in 7 years in the Guard, I got burnt out from the government, learning that
Right.
everything goes slow and nobody's good at their job and everyone just wants to go home,
Yep.
which I can kind of sympathize with. But I thought, I don't want to work in government. And for the first time in my life, there's not an organization telling me what to do because I enlisted at 18. So I had a talk with my dad, and is now our third business partner, my uncle Eric, who is an electrical engineer. He's got some kind of like industry and trade experience. And we decided to form a company together. And that's how Practical Products got started. And then I really spent this is in January 2021. So I spent all of 2021 trying to figure out, I've got this like off the shelf version of the product and I want to make some changes to it. So how do I communicate those changes to someone and get
Right.
it made in a capacity where it's going to be economical and be able to be done in large quantities? So that all went well. It took a long time and it was stressful, especially coming out of COVID with
Oh
supply
yeah.
issues. And I think businesses that survived were hesitant to take on new business because, especially with me. So I think the companies that I started working with, and I started local because that's another one of the things I learned in the Army, is that sometimes if someone's not answering your calls or emails, you have to go knock on their door and be like, give me a reason to go away.
Right.
Just,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. And so we got the first round of product in December of 2021. So just after leaf season, and like I'm from the Midwest, so I know the climate and landscaping. That's like my bread and butter. That's how the ant was born. That's how I know how to talk about it and bring it up to people. And so we really didn't start selling it until the very beginning of last year with like a debut at a trade show in Indianapolis. And since then, it's been going really well. It's still a very slow growth because the company is self-funded.
Right.
We're not trying to take on
Business
large
partners.
amounts of capital and give
Right.
equity and control away. And the ultimate goal here is to grow a sustainable company that can eventually give my dad a job so that he can get out of staying out until it gets dark, breaking his back mowing lawns.
Yep. And so basically out of necessity, this was born.
Yeah.
Necessity and then turned into you and your dad's dream.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where a lot of good entrepreneurs are born and made, is necessity and dream and vision after the necessity has been met, because you did it with the shoestrings and the tarp, but out of that you were like, well, hang on, now this gives me a vision and a dream to where I can do something even bigger and better. And that is a really inspiring story, for one, because that lets people know that you don't have to be held to the restraints of every day. You know what I mean? The everyday grind. You don't have to be held within those restraints to just continue to do the same old thing over and over again. There's something out there that you can pursue it, while doing other things. You can still pursue what you want to do and your passion and your dream. And this is just a great, example of that. And so, I want to talk about audience and stuff. Don't go out. If I go out, I will be back. Okay. So
Okay.
if it don't go nowhere, I'll have to fix it. I don't know why it does this sometimes, but your bread and butter up there is, the landscaping, the landscaping and lawn service up there, right? You never really meant for this to be targeted toward hunters or, vegetable growers or giant growers or any of that stuff, right? You had a specific thing in mind, and it's actually kind of expanded out because you can do so much on a homestead with one of these things, right? So what have you heard about, as let's kind of talk about what your target audience was, and then what has come about after that. Like, what have you heard, people using your ant for?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're one of the first people to actually reach out to me about like, hey, I see this product and I think I can think of a use for it. Can I try it out? So, I mean, I was like
Right.
over the moon, like, yeah, like, can I send you one? This is great. I was very much exploring what are all of, and I still am, all of the different applications, because I can only see it kind of through my frame of reference, that I know why it exists and what it's really good at. But all the time people see it and they're like, I mean, the hunting is a great example because I've never been myself. I'd like to go, but we got family
Right.
members who're supposed to take me out sometime. But I heard from so many people, like, this would work really well for deer, because sometimes you just got to get creative and like figure out a way to get it out of the rough part of the woods,
Yep.
or like, I mean, out of the hills or a valley or something. And so set up a field test with feed bags and found that it worked pretty well.
It does.
Have you used it for hunting?
Yeah. Did I don't know if I sent you the videos or not.
I'm not sure.
I thought I might have, but
I'm going to have to go back and do a deep dive through your catalog.
I did use it for let me see, where's it at here? Yeah, right here. Let me see. But first, just show you what you got going on. Oh, come on. But first, just show you what we got going on. Oh, come on and show it.
Man, that's so cool.
I think I took a break here in a second. But I pulled it for a good long ways. And it was two of them in there.
Wow.
Whole lot easier, guys. Whole lot easier. Get you an ant today, and you can drag these deer out.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. I got it before too, so I'll have to send that to you.
Yeah.
Let me see if this is the one. Right, yeah. So it didn't show up very long, but they're there. For navigating tarps.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's two of them in there, man, and it works like a charm. I mean, they weren't huge deer like what can be around in West Virginia, right? But I would say they were easily 125 apiece. So
yeah.
Well, and it's nowhere near what that thing can do. So,
yeah, I mean, you humble me, because you're using it for something that I've never used it for, and saying that it works. And there's solutions for everyone that are going to be different based on different needs. So I'm aware that there are some like hunting sleds or like a whole like harness you can strap into.
Right.
I think, and don't be upset if I get this wrong, but you can like quarter it out in the field and then take it back several trips. So there are different ways to do it, but I'm happy to have. I really wouldn't be selling a product that I didn't feel like was actually making something easier for people. And so my dad still uses it for his lawn service. And I mean, I wouldn't ask anyone to use it for hunting or any other application if it wasn't really making a difference and being more effective and ergonomic and just the way that you move things around.
The best thing about this with the hunting compared to other things that are out there, you can put it on you and you don't know that you're carrying it.
Yeah, it's tiny. Yeah.
It's tiny. The tarp goes in your rucksack just fine, or your hunting bag just fine. Again, you don't know that you're carrying it.
Yeah.
You talk about any of these other things, okay? And the majority of the time you're talking about weight, because a lot of these have wheels on them, and you put the animal on, you strap it in, and it's got wheels, and you're pulling it with, it's not easy to get through the woods with those things. It's just not. And anybody who says it's practical is kind of kidding themselves, especially if they live in an area like here, like in West Virginia. You're not going to pull a deer up a hill with wheels, because the force of those wheels is going to want to drag you backwards. You know what I mean? Like just
a little bit of like resistance and friction.
Right. Exactly. And so having that on the ground, the resistance there while you're pulling it up, it helps. And not only that, but you can take, like, if it's an extremely steep hill, you can take you got, of course you're limited to how far your winch can go, but if you can get your winch to it, you can winch it up and it works. What I mean? And all you got to do is have somebody up there pushing the winch button, and you're guiding it through the woods and putting it up through there. So, I mean, it works. And it's a great product. And, I use it here on the homestead, every day to load it up with straw and haul it down to the goats and the pigs. You know, instead of me gathering arms full, right, which you can only carry so much in your arms, right?
Yeah.
Well, and making 4 or 5 trips for the goats and 4 or 5 trips for the pigs, load it all up at once and take all 10 trips, you know, at one time down to the goats and pigs. And I don't have to sit there and struggle or walk back and forth. It saves me time, energy,
Yeah.
everything, right? So it's a great product to have on the homestead. If I was going to, you know, take and put mulch around or compost, right? Like last year, I kept having to take loads of compost with a wheelbarrow, right? And I mean, I could take 2 wheelbarrow loads full of compost in that, drag it where I need to go. I'm cutting myself in time, you know, half
Yeah.
the time, right? And the wheelbarrow is just, you know, you only dump it in that one spot. Well, this is wide. So I get
Yeah.
a wider coverage, you know, you know, so it just makes sense to use for applications like that. Or if I'm going to do mulching, like I said, or anything like that, if I'm hauling lots of stuff out of the garden, you know,
Mhm.
like lots of baby pumpkins or squash or any of that, put them right on there. You can haul them right out up to the front of the house and get ready to sell them or get ready to clean them on the tarp. Clean them
Yeah.
off on the tarp. They're off the ground. They're out of the dirt. Spray them off real good. And then, you know, put them wherever you need to put them to store them until you're ready to sell them. So, I mean, there's so many applications for this product to be used on the homestead. And
Yep.
when I seen it, I was just like, you know what? I've got to get a hold of this guy because this thing is groundbreaking. You know, I mean, it's like for me, it's changed the way we do everything around here when we're outside. And it's
Yeah.
a fun product. And here's the other part. People always, oh, I want to exercise. What better way? I mean, most
Yeah.
people work their upper body. Most people don't work the lower body, right?
Yeah.
So what better way to work the lower body than to put something on and pull it through the yard? You know, so I mean,
Oh,
there's so many different
yeah.
ways to use this, and it's fun. And you know, I really really like it, and I kind of want to know, you know, what what is your vision coming up for? What do you see in the next few years? You know, I mean, are you going to start trying to you know, not pivot, but sort of broaden where you sell to, who you target? You know, are you thinking about that, or are you just going to stay steady with what it is, and whoever uses it for something different just uses it for different?
Well, I think that's something I'm kind of going through in this stage of growing the business, is trying to figure out where do I want to apply focus. It's come up a lot of time just like reading and trying to make myself a better entrepreneur and businessman and salesperson, that if you try to appeal to everyone, you won't appeal to anyone.
That's true.
So that's I'm not great about commitment, so I don't want to pigeonhole
Right.
myself into one thing. But I mean, what I really would like to focus on is larger landscaping companies, but at the same time making it available for anyone else who has a use for it. So
Right.
I was just talking to someone last week who said, like, when I see this, the first thing I think is that every farm, anyone with property, with buildings and animals, should have one of these just hanging up, because there are so many uses for it. You can find so many different things. And that resonated with me, that I'm like, I don't know what that's like because I don't have property. So,
Right.
but I can totally see it. It makes sense. So, you know, it's out there, it's on the website, it's on Amazon. But I'm trying to target what would become larger sales to kind of grow the company more. And the whole goal is to get it to where, I mean, the very like end vision is that it's a household product akin to like a shovel, or uh,
Right.
I mean, just anything you would have in your garage that anyone with, I don't know, more than a third of an acre would be like, oh, I got to have that ant for. I mean, even smaller, like if you have a tree go down in the back and you got to pick up sticks for days and days and days,
Yep.
well, you can cut that way down if you just throw them on a tarp, drag it to the front, do that every once in a while, or do it for, I don't know, a couple hours and then
Right.
call it a day, versus dragging handfuls out or wheelbarrows. It's not always the best solution, but when it is, I feel like it's like, wow, I wouldn't use anything else.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it has that need for a space in your tools, just like you said, like any other tool. We have multiple rakes, we have multiple hoes, we have multiple shovels and things like that in our buildings, right, or in our garages that are for specific jobs. And this is just one of those things that should be in there for specific jobs that we could have and be able to use for. And
Yeah.
I just think that I think it's a really, really neat tool. I mean, people have these hand things that they put on their hands and scoop leaves up, and right, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, if people will buy those, then certainly there's a need for the ant. You know what I mean? That's really, I mean, at the end of the day, that's how I see it. And like I said, there's just so many different applications that's out there that really, if there was a way to make it happen, like if there was a way that these deer videos, I mean, it could essentially go in that direction, in the hunting direction. You know what I mean? It could go that way. It's not that you're pushing it that way. It's just that people find something that's cool, it's working, and so they pick it up and use it. And so that's what's neat about this, is there's so many different niches for it that it fits in, that all it takes is one or two videos going viral or people seeing that and they're like, there it goes, I'm going to use it for that.
Yeah.
And that's what's so neat about it, because even though you're going to stay with the landscaping and the lawn service, you're not bound by that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of other products would be. A lot of other products that would be specific to a certain thing are going to be bound within that certain thing, and you really aren't. You can go outside of that, and that's what's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, people say all the time, they're like, "Hey, it's kind of a niche product," and I'm like, "It is, but it also isn't," because if you're operating under that constraint that it is just for landscapers, then sure. I mean, I think I started this company thinking, there's a business there, but the thought that it could be something that anyone finds useful is, I really like that, because like I said, I like selling a product that I feel good about, and it would make me feel really good if everyone said, yeah, it's great, it works super well.
Right. Is there any changes coming up to it? Are you going to be enhancing anything or changing anything coming up as far as the tarps are concerned, or any of the product as a whole, the strap, the tarps, any of that? Are you working on anything different, or got any new ideas that have evolved out of this?
Well, I would love to design a tarp with grommets that don't pull out, that's still lightweight, maybe a little stronger, so that the ones that I sell on the website, that's not ours, we didn't make that, it's just a good product that we found over the years, and called them up and they're like, sure, you can resell it. I'm like, well, I'm interested because this is a great tarp, but if I could design something that worked perfectly with the ant, like didn't wear out, the grommets were impossible to pull out, that would be really cool. But I'm also open to feedback. So with the ant itself, I feel like from all of the ways that I've used it, it's just about perfect. The strap is 10 feet long, and I feel like any longer and it would get cumbersome, any shorter and it wouldn't be as effective.
Right.
But with that said, if enough people came to me and said, like, I need it to be longer, we need extenders or something like that, then I would put that in the works. So
right.
I'm very confident about the iteration of the product that I'm selling now. And the only things that change with each batch that I order are quality goes up. If it doesn't go up, then I don't order the product, but quality goes up, but essentially it stays the same. There are some really subtle differences between like the first iteration of the finished like mass market product that I put together and the third iteration that we're on now, which I love even more. But functionally, they do the same thing. They both work really, really well and do exactly what they're supposed to. So I have ideas. I'm not ready to start like to go back to the whiteboard. Maybe when the company can do more on its own and not require all of my attention all the time. But I'm also very open to feedback. So if enough people said that they wanted something to be different, I would certainly give it a try.
And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but the tarp sizes, there is different ones, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's not just the one tarp. There's not just this tarp that I use, the size that I use, right? Mm-hmm. So, because I don't remember the sizes, but what are the sizes?
So you've got one of the mediums, which is an 8x10. I've got a small that's a 6x8 and a large that's a 10x12. Bigger than 10x12, and it's uncomfortable for me to work with. So if more people said like, I want to use the ant with bigger tarps, then, I look into that.
Right.
But it was, I designed, I mean, the carabiners are an important part of it because it's designed to work with the tarps that you already have. So I disclaimed that by saying that if they're not heavy duty tarps, they're not going to hold up to pulling heavy duty stuff with the ant.
That's
the
true.
ant will. I don't know about anyone who's broken it yet.
No, I've tried, and I broke I didn't break the tarp that I got from you. I broke the tarp that I had.
Yeah. So
literally ripped the eyelets right out. I mean, just shattered them. So
right. So it works with the tarps that people already have. If they don't have heavy duty tarps, then they may find that they need to upgrade to that to use the ant. But I really wanted it to work with what people already have. And so for, I don't know, the picture an older lady like doing some gardening and using the ant because it doesn't hurt her back or her legs or whatever, like pulling the tarp the old way would. I mean, that's a good use case where she didn't have to buy a tarp. It just works with what she already has.
Yep. So, and that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. The one thing that I would say, as far as if you ever wanted to do anything to really ensure that those grommets wouldn't go anywhere, is find a way to sew them in, like literally sew the grommet in.
Yeah.
And then you're ensuring that joker ain't going nowhere ever. Like
I did some experimentation last summer with like 3/8 inch like steel cabling, like tying it through the grommets, trying to figure out how I could get, like, when you pull on 2 grommet corners, that it would like distribute the load, but not like scrunch the tarp up.
Right.
And it makes for some silly videos that we got. I'm looking into it.
Right. So, I mean, that really, though, I mean, I think that if you, I mean, because like I said, it does really well like it is. I've not had any issue out of it. Yeah. But if there was a need to beef it up any, you could, in theory, sew those grommets, into the actual tarp fabric and maybe do that. Or, you ever seen that? It's like thin metal stuff and it's woven into like tarps. You know what I mean? It's not actual tarps, but it's like this thin metallic stuff that's about the thickness of the tarp material.
And I think so. Just something to make it a little more rigid, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it won't fold as well. You know what I mean? It doesn't fold up as well. But I mean, you're talking about extremely heavy duty need, right? Like, pulling bags of concrete on a job or something, you know what I mean? Something that would need to be something, heavy duty. But for all intents and purposes around the homestead, the heavy duty tarp and the ant combined is plenty enough to do exactly what you need to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. But just kind of thinking outside the box, if you ever wanted to do anything different and, maybe show what it could do on a construction site or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be some interesting things. And, the other thing is, I put giant pumpkins on it and pulled them. I broke the regular tarp with it. It just, I got the stress and strain on it and it just, and I thought it was pulling. Man, it just rips the tarp apart.
I remember talking about that, and I was like, how much does a pumpkin weigh? And you're like, like 750 pounds. And I'm like, that's more than I've tested.
Yeah. But the strap and nothing broke. Like, and so when I got the tarp, the tarp from you, I put it on there, and now I couldn't pull it. I couldn't make it go anywhere, because I just ain't big enough, ain't strong enough no more, right? Yeah. But I mean, it didn't pull, it didn't break. It was, I mean, if I would have been big enough, it would have moved. You know? So I mean,
there's definitely something to that. It's designed to be pulled by a person. And so if what you're pulling is too heavy for you to pull, then, I mean, the tarp is the weak point. And that's definitely a point to design around in the future. So I appreciate you hearing you say that, because that reminds me that, that's a problem. That's something that needs to be taken care of. If you are aware of it, it's not such a big issue. But I mean, you're totally right that the ant itself, in fact, you'll appreciate this, you and your viewers. I'm going to get this wrong because I wasn't airborne, but I think this guy was a parachute rigger in the Army. So he came up to me at a trade show and he looked at the straps and was like, these are great stitches. Like,
Yep.
this is quality, this is solid, it's going to hold up. And I'm like, good to hear, because I
Yep.
didn't really know what I was looking at when I got it, but I tested it with a couple 100 pounds, and I said, hey, that seems good, no issues. And he looked at it and he's like, well, I'm qualified to tell you that this is good. And I'm like, cool, thank you.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, it is a very, very solid product. And I mean, I think if I would have went out there and hooked the side by side up to it and pulled it,
Mhm.
it would have pulled it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've
Yeah,
pulled
yeah.
stuff with zero turn lawnmowers before in that
Right.
way. Like, we put the strap around the seat, and I company lawyer said I can't advocate that people do that, but
Right.
I've done it and it worked. So
Right.
do with that what you
I
will.
mean, I know that it will pull. I'm
Right.
confident it would have pulled that 750-pound pumpkin out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, I am. I don't think it would have had any problem. I don't think the tarp would have had any problem. You know, so I
Well,
mean,
in the future, if you're doing that, double up the grommets, and that
okay.
makes them way stronger. So I think I'm going to guess here that you're totally right. If you hooked it up to your four-wheeler and doubled up on the grommets, I bet you could pull a 750-pound pumpkin.
Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt, because I mean, it would move, it would budge, but it was, you know, a half inch or an inch, right? And I'd have to kind
Yeah.
of jerk, you know, to get it to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, all that jerking stuff, that should have technically broke those grommets and ripped that tarp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't doing it. I mean, I leaned my whole body into it and just was like, you know, so I was very, very impressed. That's why I didn't hesitate one bit to put 2 deer in it and haul up the hill, you know, because I said,
Well,
it'll go, you know.
this is a great endorsement for Harpster tarps. They make a good product.
Well, but having said that, without the ant, I can't pull them tarps.
Sure. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, you know, so while they might make good tarps, it does me no good to have that tarp if I can't have the ant and pull it. You know?
Yeah.
So we got to have the ant. The ant is the key to everything here. So, you know,
Well, I can't tell how much I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot, and I love seeing your videos. And I mean, even just now with the deer, that like, I just it gives me a warm fuzzy feeling that you're finding uses for it, and saying that it's working well. That's
right.
That's the coolest thing that an inventor could hear.
I really, you know, I'm really excited to see where this goes in the future, you know, and where the ant ends up, you know, 2, 3, 5 years from now, you know, because I really think that there's potential there. I think the right people hear it, the right people see it, and it will blow up. I mean, I really feel that, because it is such a dual purpose product, and it's not, like I said, it's just not bound within those certain parameters, you know, that you designed it for. There's so many different applications. And I mean, even at this point, if people bought one tarp of each, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's 3 different applications now, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to haul 2 deer at one time. Well, you get a small tarp and you haul 1 deer at one time. You know, I mean, there's so many different applications there. Kids, I mean, I don't know if you thought about this, but you know, all the time in football practice, you know, you got kids and they're running with stuff, you know,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, you know, if I was a football coach, you know what I'd be doing? I'd be getting me a bunch of ants, and I'd be hooking up tarps with stuff on them, or just putting kids on the tarp and letting another kid pull them through the football field for training. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's so many little things like that that just pop up in your head.
You're totally right. And that totally makes me think back to, I played football as a kid and I was a lineman. So I remember like pushing those sleds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not a football coach, but maybe, I mean, it would make kids stronger to pull each other.
Definitely would make them stronger.
They'd still be running, tapping their feet.
Yep. I mean, because like, if you remember, the whole time you're pushing that sled, you're moving your feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here's like, okay, that's great for when a team is doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole, you know, you got 4 or 5 on the sled pushing it, right?
Yeah.
But what about the ones that's over here just standing around waiting?
Yeah.
Right? To get on the sled. Well, no. We ain't gonna stand around and wait. You got work to do too, big boys. Put them out there on an ant and let them pull it. You know, I mean, there's just so many different little things like that it would just be fun. You know, I don't know. Well, you'd probably get in trouble for it now. I can remember the coach when I was a kid. He'd put daggone trash. If you were overweight, he'd put trash bags on you underneath your pads and your uniform. But he'd make you lose that weight. You know what I mean? Yeah. So a lot of that stuff you'd probably get in trouble for nowadays. But you know, I mean, go ahead.
sorry. So kids still, God, I'm going to look for this video. I'm going to see if I can find it real quick. So my dad, ever since I stopped working for him as much, I still go up and help out every once in a while. But I've got three little siblings, and one is 13. The other two are twins. They turn 11, and they go out and help him work now. And
Right.
it's great for them because they're getting way more than anyone else with an allowance there. And I was mad because when I started working for my dad, I was making $5.15 an hour.
Oh,
They started at $10 an hour. I'm like, you
oh
kids,
man.
you don't know
Yeah.
how good you got it. You can go to work anytime you want. Dad will be happy to have the help. So this video is, he sent it to me a couple of weeks ago of my little sister using the ant, dragging this huge pile of ornamental grasses. And I mean, it looks like it's an adult doing the job, and it's a 13-year-old girl.
That's cool.
Let's see.
And Jason said here, he said, don't worry, you don't need to advocate for any. Just leave it to us rednecks and we'll figure out
Oh, yeah.
ways to use it.
Okay, it's going to be disappointing because I can't find it. But oh wait, no, I have it. Here it is. I apologize. I know this is not compelling.
No.
There you go.
Yeah, see, that is a lot. That's a lot of grass. And I want everybody to take a look at this though too. What is it being drug on? Not grass. It's being drug on the asphalt.
Yeah.
So see, I mean, because I know there's going to be people who's going to see this video later and be like, "You're dragging it through the woods. There's sticks, there's stems, there's this and that, rocks and this, that, and the other." And it's going to, yeah, maybe with a regular tarp, you might have some issues with that. But I have literally drugged that thing everywhere and all over rocks, all over sticks, and all over everything else. And it has not got one hole in it yet. I don't even have a place on it where it's showing any sort of wearing to where, like you would if it had a heavy spot in it or somewhere,
Yeah.
you might get. I don't even have that because it's distributing the weight perfectly, and it works.
It's a good tarp.
Yeah, it is. So I mean, between the two of those, what is the material made of?
Let's see. I can look that up real quick. So, when you got the package, they've got that like chart on there that shows like the different ones they sell and the different like gauges of thickness.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I've only ever messed with the heaviest duty one.
Right.
Let's see. It is a woven poly tarp.
Okay. Well, I know one thing. It does great. Now, while we're talking about what things are made out of, what is the ant made out of? What is the pad made out of? Like, what is the strap made out of? What is the pad made out of? And the carabiners are aluminum?
No, the carabiners are steel.
That's right, steel.
That's the most important thing because
Yeah.
I learned over the years that aluminum bends. It's soft, and I know that from bending aluminum carabiners and from working on aluminum motorcycle blocks. Learning the hard way that aluminum is soft. The pad is, I want to say it's like an EVA foam. It's or like a something closed cell. At one point during the prototyping, I had like samples of different kinds of padding, and I had to like feel them and like squish them and put them up against me and be like, which one would feel the best for the ant? And I found one, and I'm like, okay, I think 2 of these would be perfect. And then it's just sewed up in I think it's 1000 denier cordura, so like super high grade, just good quality stuff. It's the same stuff that your like ammo pouches and stuff are made out of that.
Okay.
You're familiar with. Like,
yep.
It's rugged and it's built to hold up. And then the webbing itself is I think it's a polypropylene. So
Okay.
some kind of woven something.
Right.
I'm not a manufacturing guy. I held different samples and I'm like, okay, this one feels really good. How much does it cost? Okay, this one feels really good. How much does it cost?
No, I mean that's fine. But I just kind of wanted to, since we were going to talk about that, just wanted to see what it was made out of in case people want to know that too. Is there anything that you can think of that you want to kind of highlight? I mean, this is all about you. So if you want to highlight anything, talk about anything, let's dive into that.
Well, I've got one plug I want to give, if that's okay.
Yeah,
So
sure.
before the show, we were kind of talking about, business and growing it. And I mean, all kinds of good problems with being so busy that you can't
Right.
think straight. And for me, the really the big breakthrough was, I started this company working in my home office and doing things online. And I felt like a lot of times I was just kind of like banging my head against the wall because I was like seeing something and getting tunnel vision. And that was absolutely made better when I started just networking, talking to people, meeting people. And eventually I got put in touch with some folks with an organization called Bunker Labs. Have you ever heard of them?
I have not.
So it's an entrepreneurial organization for veterans and the veteran community. And
Okay.
so I got affiliated with them, and I'm in a like a class now called Veterans and Residents. We're in a cohort together, so it's myself and a handful of other former vets and business people that we're like a networking group where we can bounce things off of each other. And I say all of this to communicate that if there's anyone in the audience that is a veteran or veteran affiliated, a spouse or family member or anything, I mean, really, it's just a community of people that
Right.
we get together for drinks once a month, and we just kind of hang out and talk, and it's a place of community. But if you're a veteran who's interested in business, one, anyone can do it because here I am.
Right. Right.
And two, Bunker Labs is a fantastic organization, and through them, I actually met someone that today we didn't ink a deal, but we had a discussion where since I started the company, I've wanted to have a charitable component to it.
Yep.
And vets have always been near and dear. There's just not enough that people can do for veterans.
That's true.
So he runs an organization, a nonprofit called Hero Hut, where they have, and I'm going to get this wrong, so forgive me, but essentially the way I understand it is they have like pop-up tents at large events, so that if you are a veteran and you're there and you're feeling anxious or you don't have anyone else that you're there with, you can go connect with the Hero Hut people and just have your veteran community of like, I mean,
That's
how
cool.
you meet someone who's like, oh, you were in like what branch, like, and then you just start
Yep.
hitting it off. And
Yep.
so Practical Products is going to be donating a portion of all of the sales to Hero Hut to help them grow and continue to raise awareness and be at more and more places, so that eventually every large event should have a Hero Hut. And
yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's two really cool organizations based
That
around
is.
who are great. I mean, can't do enough for them. And I just had to spread the word a little bit about them.
I like that. I like that a lot because, and I can speak on like you said, we were talking before we got on. I'm not a businessman. I know nothing about business. And yet every day I'm conducting business as though I was in a suit and tie and going somewhere and doing it. If you would have said this 10 years ago, I'd have laughed you out of the room. You're silly. Ain't nobody, nope, I ain't that kind of person. I don't have those skills. I don't know. And yet here I am, and I'm conducting business every day with multi-million-dollar companies, some of them, and it's just like, I feel like a fish out of water. Like, what am I doing here? I don't know how to conduct myself, and so it does get kind of, like, oh crap, and so that's pretty cool to know that there's a network of people out there that, they're entrepreneurs themselves, they're veterans themselves. They didn't have the skills, but they took what they had and what they knew, and they used it. And now they got an organization. So that's great information to have.
Yeah.
The other part of that is the Hero Huts. I hate going anywhere. I don't like going nowhere. I don't want to go nowhere.
Yeah.
I have to force myself to go to these way-offs. All right. Because I absolutely dread, like I can put on a good front. I can put on a good face and smile and, whatever. But on the inside of me, I am screaming, getting me the heck out of here as fast as you can. I don't want to be around none of you. I don't like all these eyeballs on me, all these different people. I can't see what's going on everywhere around me, and I don't want to be here. So I get very, very flighty, and I can put on a good face and act like, oh yeah, everything's good, but if there was one of those tents, you can find me there. I'd be right over there in the corner talking to somebody like, hey, yeah, how you doing? Yep, I'm right here. When you need me, holler at me. I'll come do my thing. And I'll come out and, hey, how you doing? Whatever, kiss the babies and whatever you got to do. And I'll go back over to the hero hut because I'm done, right? I don't like, be around my people. You know what I mean? Because I don't like being out in public. I mean, I came home and that's just how I was, you know? Yeah. It to me, it's very, very, especially anymore. Like it was different when I came home from Iraq, you know, there wasn't a whole lot that went on, right? Mm-hmm. It was just me being so amped up from over there that had the problem. Now it's kind of reversed. You know what I mean? Now I'm not as jumpy, but now I can't trust society enough not to walk in Walmart and somebody just start shooting the place up, right? I mean, so you know,
it's infuriating when you could be anywhere and someone just walks by too close or like doesn't know what's going on, and you just want to scream at them like, "Where is your situational awareness?"
Right, exactly.
And then you get a crowd of people and no one has any, and I mean, it does get overwhelming.
Right. I mean, people are so, and they're rude. They're so rude anymore, right? Like just not very pleasant people. You know, you smile at them, you know, like, okay, so I don't smile. And then if you don't smile at them, you got a problem. No, like I just smiled at the guy back there and he kind of gave me a dirty look. So I just figured smiling wasn't for today. So I just ain't gonna smile at nobody. You know, I mean, it's just such a weird place, you know, and I just like staying here at the house. I really didn't lose anything out there. You know what I mean? And you know, I got my own friends, go to their house, we can hang out, whatever. But as far as being out in public, you know, or going to a concert or the fair or any of that stuff, yeah, no, not for me. But like you said, if there was one of these hero hut things, man, that would be really cool because you can go in there, like you said, talk to your people, hang out. So I think that's a really good thing that you're doing, you know, because that can only enhance, you know, what they're able to do. And people don't understand that. People don't understand, like, there are, I'm not going to mention organizations, but there are organizations that are not as savory as some of them, right? And, and you know, I get asked a lot about that by friends and family, you know, should I give to this organization or not? And I give them my honest opinion based on what I've personally got from them or not gotten from them. And because I think it's important that they not look at the bigger ones, because generally the bigger ones aren't doing exactly what they say. And it's more important that they look for the small ones, like you've mentioned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because those are the ones that are doing meaningful impact for the veteran community. It's not the big ones that everybody hears and sees about on TV or whatever, you know, or gets the little slips in the mail, right? It's the smaller ones that you don't hear about. You know, that you got to either hear from word of mouth like you, or you went and Googled something online like who can I give to, right? And not do the first one that pops up, but go through about 25 of them, and then you can start sifting through some of those, you know. And so it's important that you know, people realize that and stuff. So I'm glad that you mentioned those two organizations, and it's really good that you're going to be giving to them. I'm trying to work on a 501c3 here. Man, you know, that takes you to another place where I'm not familiar, and
it's running a company. I mean, a nonprofit is still in every sense a company that has accounting and legal needs and just a whole slew of things to take your attention away from actually trying to do what you're doing, which I can understand how you'd be frustrated.
Right. You know, so I mean, it's very, very, you know, it gets into these waters where I'm not comfortable and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to get myself in trouble. In order to get help for these, generally you got to pay for the help that you get, you know, to understand the language and all that stuff. And, you know, because if it wasn't for that today, a skill to heal program would be a 501c3. If it wasn't for the fact that I don't know what I'm doing exactly, and, you know, other than I can talk to some suppliers, get some product to give to the veterans, and I'll give them seeds myself. You know what I mean? Like, or I got Baker Creek to give us a big bunch of seeds, you know, to give to them. So, you know, I'm able to kind of to run it like that. But, you know, like you said, trying to run a 501c3, I mean, that, again, like, it is a business. It's just a nonprofit business. You know what I mean? So,
it's just learning that Bunker Labs would be perfect for you, man. Like, they're national. They have chapters in all the big cities. So
That's cool.
I mean, you can be as involved as you want, or just kind of make some friends and use them as a sounding board. Like, hey, like, does anyone have experience with this, or like does anyone want to give me some feedback on this? And
Okay.
might be a good way to just, I mean, get some more input on, like, I mean, you meet a guy who's like a couple years ahead of you running a nonprofit, and he'll take you under his wing and be like, let me tell you what mistakes not to make.
Right. And that's
That's
kind of what right. And that's what I need. I need somebody to tell me what mistakes not to make. Right.
Yeah.
Because, Lord knows I can't afford to make many of them. Right. So, Jason says, growing things, et cetera, is a good therapy to redirect energy. And it is, it's a wonderful way to redirect that energy and to be able to have fun and focus. Did I send you seeds?
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
not yet. You said you were going to.
Yeah. I got to get your address and send them. I haven't sent them yet. Because I got swamped right around the time me and you was talking, and I sent out a bunch of seeds all at once, and then I'm like, well, hang on, did I send that one or that one seeds? I think you and Ben are the two that I did not send seeds to yet, so I got to get that squared away. So we'll talk later, and I'll get you some sent out tomorrow. Yeah. It is a good way to kind of relax and do therapy with it. But another way that I kind of get therapy is sitting down, writing emails to people, to try. I mean, it can get frustrating at times, but it's also kind of therapeutic because I got to go in my own little zone and write this email all nice and pretty, not how I talk at all.
Yeah.
Right. And be able to present it to somebody, basically like a sales pitch. Right. And so, there is this thing, since we're talking about all these great organization stuff, goodness, what is it called? Farmer Veteran Heroes or something like that is what it's called. So I became part of that. And then Kubota is in that, and they give away like 5 tractors a year.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. For veterans. Right. Awesome. Right. Exactly. And then the state will give you these, pieces of paper that you can put with your product. All right. And be able to, help boost your sales and stuff, because you can put that. And I'm telling you, I think that you would probably qualify for some of that too. So you might want to go and look in on some of that, because they got this thing coming up. Now, I don't know about your state, because every state has it, but every state's different when they do it. But they got these grants for like $10,000, and you got to have a company. You got to be, or making a company, right, to be able to do it. And it's sales pitching, and they help you in many different ways with your company, or to build your company. Whichever way you need to do it. Like if you need to build your company, or if you've already got an existing company, you just need to help, in some way, shape, or form that way. So they got different things like that. And
what's it called again?
I think it's called Farmer Veteran Heroes, I think is what it's called. I'll get all the information when we get off of here, and I'll give it to you. But yeah, I mean, another good way to kind of network and help, the veteran community. And if people aren't a veteran and they're watching this, I encourage them to reach out to the veterans they do know, and ask them, hey, you got anything you're working on, or or need, or whatever. My mama, she made the comment one time. She said, hey, I'm going to write this out to the wounded warriors, and whatever, and give it to them. I said, well, I tell you what, instead of sending that to them, you got about 10 of us grandchildren who are all veterans. Just write a check out to us once a month and just send us the check.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, if you're going to give it to them, you might as well just write it out to the, you know what I mean? I mean, because it would be more beneficial to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I do with A Skill to Heal. We take what money we get off of seed sales. If a veteran reaches out and says, hey, I want to grow this winter, I don't have grow lights, I don't have the dirt, I don't have a tub to grow in or whatever. Okay, send me your address, right? Yeah. I'll go shop, find it, and I'll send it to you. You know what I mean? Like, that's more, that to me, I think that's more meaningful and better than them having to reach out to one of these other places and go through all this, stuff sometimes that it takes to try to get that one little boost of help to get over depression or anxiety. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's I mean, that's really, you know, what I think it's all about is just helping each other, you know, because we are a brotherhood, sisterhood, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And we are supposed to, you know, help each other out. So
Yeah.
if there's
Well,
anything,
I like what Jason said about growing things, because I mean, I hope you realize this. Everything you were just talking about is things that you're growing, your brand, your business, and your community. And so you're doing fantastic things.
well, I
It's
appreciate that.
you all of it. Sometimes it's frustrating, all parts of whatever you're doing. But I mean, am I allowed to swear on here? I won't have to. It's good stuff. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. There we go. There we go. I try to keep it I don't curse, but I don't really tell anybody not to curse, but
Sure.
I try to keep it family friendly on here. So,
Hey,
but no, I mean, I know what you're meaning. You know,
Yeah.
So, and I don't like telling grown people what to do. So,
Sure. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
but yeah, I mean, you know, I appreciate that a lot, because it has been a struggle, you know, and the other part of this is, too, you know, the people won't realize this, and they won't appreciate this until they're in these kinds of shoes. But anytime where you start to break away from the things that kind of hold you back and start to move forward, you're always going to have that percentage of people who, for whatever reason, are, for lack of better words, haters. You know what I mean? And, you know, they could be doing perfectly fine in their life and everything, and they would want your applause and stuff. But as soon as you start to elevate and lift yourself up and pull yourself out of whatever you're in and do better, then they instantly try to discredit, put you down and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't know if you've dealt with that, you know, with your business and stuff, but, you know, definitely, what is it?
It's meaningless.
Yeah. Right.
You know, you could choose to dwell on negativity and say that you're never going to do something that you want to do. But I mean, what's the point in that?
Right.
Like, if you want to do something, go out and do it.
Exactly. So that's kind of where I was going with it. You know, if people are, you know, moving in a direction that they want to go in and they're doing well and they see that it's going to be beneficial to their lives and to their families' lives, just like water on a duck's back, you know what I mean? Just let it go. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's facts which can be hard to argue, and you know, sometimes you got to have an open mind and say that, you know, maybe I'm being a little hopelessly optimistic here, but if it's just someone trying to get under your skin, or just, I mean, if you can tell that they've got some like venom in what they're saying or some like jealousy, brush it off. Doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely.
You do what makes you happy.
That's right. That's right. And you know, I think because I've seen it happen to other veterans. You know, they'll be doing good. They'll be, you know, moving in a direction they want to move in, and it only takes like one or two people, and then they just throw in the towel. You know what I mean? And so, you know, as long as we're talking about veterans here, you know, I don't like to see that. You know, and so it irks me, and you know, to see people do that to other people, but especially veterans. And, you know, so you just got to kind of brush it off, because it's going to be part of it. It's just part of it. So, but is there anything else you want to mention or talk about, or?
I don't think so. I think we've talked about the ant plenty. I'm so happy to see the uses you found for it. I got to talk about Bunker Labs and Hero Hut. Okay. Last one. You may have heard of them. And I'm not super familiar with the organization. I just know that it exists. It's called Ag Vets. And yeah. Have you heard of it?
It sounds familiar, but go ahead.
I think they've got something to do with another organization that they're all kind of like float around or have something to do with Purdue University, but it's like Purdue University, a company called Agri-Ability, nonprofit, that their thing is to get accommodations for farmers with disabilities. And then I think below that, or sideways from it, is Ag Vets, which is disabled vets in ag. What are the tools and resources that you can use to make life easier? So
that's cool. That is cool.
I don't know enough about it to say anymore, but something to look into for anyone who's in that sector of people.
Absolutely. Because there's going to be a lot of people that watch this that are, you know, all about growing and outdoors and homesteading and stuff like that and growing. So, that's another absolutely good resource for them to be able to look into. Well, if there's nothing else, you stay on. I'll end this, and then me and you will wrap things up on our end. But I can end this, and we'll just stay on here and stuff. So, but anyhow, guys, let's see. The 28th next week, we have Travis Ginger coming to talk to us about growing a 2,000 to 2,500 pound pumpkin. He holds the North American record at 2,560 pounds. That is a massive pumpkin. So we're going to be talking to him next week on the 28th at 8 p.m. Then on the 7th of March, we have Ben from Petra Tools coming to talk to us about their foggers and their backpack sprayers and how they're moving into the fertilizing part of things and doing some mycorrhizas and stuff like that. Then on the 14th, we have Tony Prochaska coming on the 14th to talk to us about giant cantaloupes. Now, this guy has the world record for like 76 pounds. A cantaloupe that's 76 pounds, guys. Can you imagine a cantaloupe that is, it looks like a 55-gallon trash can sitting on his lap, all right? So we're going to be talking to him on the 14th of March about how to grow a giant cantaloupe, because I want to know, how did he grow that thing? Because my cantaloupe, I can grow cantaloupes. I can grow a cantaloupe just fine. But my giant cantaloupes last year, they were pitiful. I mean, they didn't even get as big as my regular cantaloupes, and that's a shame. So we're going to have to figure this out, because I want to know how to get at least a 50-pound cantaloupe, because I want the state record. The state record right now is 38 pounds, and I want to decimate that joker, all right, and make my 12th state record. So the other part, let's see, on the 21st of March, we have, Ed Brookmeyer from, and I just got these two in. That's why I'm kind of slow thinking about it. I just made these two deals today. Ed Brookmeyer will be in on the 21st to talk to us about bare ground solutions, fertilizers, and fish emulsions. Guys, I've been using his fish emulsion for the past going on 3 years now, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it is the best fish emulsion that I've ever used. And I've used them all. I've used several of the big name brands, and you pay $60 to $70 for a gallon. I don't see any difference between that and me using his at $19 a gallon. So want some cost-effective rates and get 15% off? I encourage you to go over to Bare Ground Solutions and buy your fertilizer and your fish emulsion from him. And guys, I'm telling you, it works. If it didn't work, I wouldn't endorse it, and you wouldn't have seen me grow 11 state records last year and had my second world record. Then on the 28th of March, oh boy, who is that one? Hey, honey, who we got on the 28th of March? I done forgot. I know what the 4th is. The 4th is on the 4th of April. It's going to be Previgenics. We're going to talk to them about their fertilizers and stuff. And who we got on the 28th of March? 28th of March. Jason, that's right. Man, I keep forgetting. Man, I don't mean to forget Jason. So we're going to have Jason from over at Cattywampus Farm. He's going to be coming, or Cattywampus Acre. He's going to come over and talk to us about goats. He's going to come and talk to us about making goat soap and stuff like that. It's the reason why we've got goats, because we want to make those things. April 4th, again, that's Previgenics. April the 11th is Elijah from Aero Mixer. Guys, if you ain't got an Aero Mixer, I highly encourage you to go get one of those, or at least go take a look at them. You see them on Instagram, and you can see them on here on YouTube. The Aero Mixer is really, really good product. It will mix up your compost teas and your fertilizers really, really well. And it does a whole lot better than air stones, sump pumps, and air pumps. I guarantee you guys, you can go check out those videos that I've done on them as well. And if you use my link, you get $50 off of that. Then on the 18th is Mark Morales. He's going to come to us and talk to us about the GPC and his pumpkin. I don't want to mess it up. Pumpkin photo, I think is what it's called. Pump K photo is how he pronounces it, or how it's spelled online. And he does a lot of pictures for giant pumpkins and things of those nature. So I highly encourage you guys to come to each one of these and see everything. Jason, he's a great guy. Tony is a really, really great guy, and I can't wait to have him on here on the 14th. Guys, this right here, this is Aaron. Guys, if you're looking for something that works, okay, and I mean works. This is not me. I don't get paid by Aaron. Aaron's not paying me a dime. to say any of this stuff. I'm telling you, it works. Okay. I use it every day. I've been using it every day since I think November, and I've not broke it. I've put it through some tests that should have broke it, and it didn't break. And it works, guys. It doesn't break the bank. It helps you out. It saves you time and saves your back. I highly encourage you guys to go out and look for the Ant today. You can find it where?
Online at theanttool.com.
Theanttool.com, or you said Amazon too, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon too. I forgot.
Yeah. So guys, go look at that. Go look at that product. You guys can see the videos I've done on that. You guys seen some of the clips that I have here tonight, and I encourage you guys to go out and buy these things. I would not endorse it if it didn't work, but guys, it's a solid product, and I'm very, very happy with it. So guys, that is all we have for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here in the Hollers and Hills of West Virginia. See y'all.